Dearly redheaded, we are choosing consciousness today to get through this thing called grief. Interesting word, grief. It means love, which makes for a mighty good joke. But I'm here to tell you, there's nothing else. Just joy. And if the big picture tends to bring you down, go crazy once your life goes. Woo!
I think you folks know that in my head, I recognize how much ground I'm covering. And if you can follow the bouncing ball, when you think in pictures and you have to convert pictures to words, it's a really different experience. And I do the best I can to try and, I'm not left brain. I'm not sequential in thought. I'm not sequential in deed. So I do the best I can. And that's, it's good enough for me. So I hope it's good enough for you. But another thing I haven't spoken about enough, and I just want to say, we hear so much about dysfunctional families and the roles that people take on, whether it's the golden child, the scapegoat, the forgotten one. These are psychological concepts that very often psychology will say the parents determine who the golden child is, the parents determine who the scapegoat is. I'm here to tell you that's really not often the case. These roles, when you have a sibling system, and in mine it was very extraordinary age differences and experience and, multi-generation within the sibling group, people take on roles themselves. The golden child in my family stepped right up into that motherfucking role and definitely influenced my mother in a way that was, it was amazing. It was fucking amazing how they just, I'm writing about it and I don't necessarily want to go there now, but it was just extraordinary to watch how they would influence my mother. And then my mother would fawn, and that's all you need to know. My mother and father didn't scapegoat me. To the contrary, I was their much youngest. I created a lot of jealousy in the family. So that's how I became the scapegoat. It wasn't not rocket science. So I just want to always say that we sometimes just always remember when you read things critically, just apply them to your own situation, resonate what works, and it doesn't. It's just because somebody's a psychologist or has 37 degrees doesn't mean they understand this better than you understand yourself. And along those lines, you all know my favorite new doctor, or doctors, Dr. Frank Corrigan and Dr. Ruth Lanius, who have, between them, working to promote deep brain reorienting. And I touched on it a little before, and I'm wanting to delve into it. I have gotten Ruth's book, Typical Me. I flip, I read. Sensory Pathways to Healing from Trauma. Don't know what I think about it yet. But this woman, I'll tell you what. At this point, I attended a 3-hour conference with Frank and Ruth, and it has really fueled me into, I think I am going to look into doing the therapy for myself. I've commented that behaviorally I thought I was autistic with an ADHD kicker. I just think I'm autistic with a CPTSD kicker because those symptoms look so much alike, whether it's motivation or I'm still, it's been 1.5 years since my episode, but I'm noticing, coming out of survival mode wasn't about my incident. Coming out of survival mode was about my childhood. So it's just, it's really, really interesting to have this therapy that can help. Well, let me read about it. Let me not keep my mouth. Let me shut my pie hole. So, yeah. She is out of Canada. She makes the connections with PTSD and dissociation in a way that, I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's like she was fucking manifested. So, oh my God, this font is small. Shit. All right. I'm going to try it. What the fuck? What is DBR? Deep Brain Reorienting. Given what we now know about the neurobiology of PTSD and how the brain processes shock and traumatic experiences, it is very important that we integrate neuroscientifically guided therapies into PTSD treatment. DBR is one such treatment. It is a neuroscience-based treatment for PTSD that targets the sequence of events that occurred in the brainstem at the time of the traumatic event. The sequence of events at the time of the initial shock during a traumatic event occurs through three areas of the brain in the brainstem and the midbrain: the superior collicus, locus coeruleus, and periaqueductal gray.
Okay. That's a Scrabble word.
I can't play Scrabble unless I have a dictionary.
Well, that's not fair.
If you want me to play, I gotta have a fucking dictionary. I can't fucking spell. I'm my father's daughter. You want me to spell? That's different. I don't look up words. I mean, I look up the spelling. Can't believe I just admitted that. Anyway, when something shocking occurs, the brain's superior that word.
The cucumber.
Yeah, collicus moves your eyes towards or away from the shocking experience before the higher levels of your brain, like your cortex, can think through what is happening and before you have an emotional response to what is happening. Therefore, since DBR therapy targets the sequence of the initial shock through this part of the brain, DBR could be an important way to process the initial moments of shock of a traumatic experience. So what happens during a DBR session, Brian asks? Mm-hmm. The DBR process involves bringing up a recent traumatic trigger. The harsh tone of a stranger's voice is cited, while mentally focusing on what happens in the muscles of the shoulders, neck, head, and face. When we are faced with a threatening person or situation, we use these muscles to pay attention to it. We turn our head and eyes towards the threat, even before any emotion sets in. Throughout the session, the therapist guides the client to notice the tension and slowly notice any sensations that change in the tension and any instincts to move their head. The therapist also helps the client mindfully observe if any emotions arise in the response to the changes in tension. Okay. All right. I want to get to the PTSD part. Does DBR help people with PTSD? And if so, how big of an effect does it have? We conducted a randomized control of DBR trial, which is one of the most well-respected ways to conduct a study. It means that one group received the treatment and one group did not receive the treatment. So we were able to compare how effective the treatment was compared to receiving no treatment. It also means that we randomly assign people to either receive the treatment or not receive the treatment. This helps make the two groups non-biased and able to be compared. This way, we could see the effect of DBR treatment on the group that received the treatment. We flipped a coin to randomly assign 54 people with the PTSD into two groups. They did 8 sessions, 90 minutes each. Trying to sum this up. Maybe I should have scripted this part. Using a well-established PTSD assessment scale, we assessed all participants' PTSD symptoms at baseline before the study started and after the period of time of the 8 sessions and after 3 months. The people who did the DBR therapy had very large improvements in all areas of the PTSD symptoms after the 8 sessions of DBR therapy and even more improvements at the 3-month follow-up. The people in the waitlist group had no significant improvements in their symptoms over the same period of time. They were the ones who got dick. Little, nothing, nada. This shows that the large improvement in symptoms in the group who did DBR therapy is because DBR was effective. They're saying nearly 50% after the treatment no longer met the criteria for PTSD. That I'm going to need a little more information on.
Yeah.
And
That's interesting.
And after 3-month follow-up, a few more percentage no longer met the criteria for PTSD. That blows my fucking mind. One common issue with other PTSD therapies is that people find it very emotionally difficult and triggering, or for other reasons, there are often high dropout rates. They're saying DBR was well tolerated and had low dropout. Wow, I can read ahead pretty quick. Okay, so on her website, she has other ways to access information and summary studies. I can't fucking read what this says, and this is really important. It says, how is the dissociative subset, that's the word, of PTSD different than the classic PTSD? How is the dissociative subset of PTSD different than the classic PTSD? That's what I have. And I'm like, yeah, answer that one. She says, and has commented in research, how is autobiographical memory altered by PTSD? This stuff is huge. Can you appreciate this?
I can, yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Like two big tits appreciation or small nipple-ly little boobs?
Maybe somewhere in between.
How does our senses and perception of the world change after trauma? What major brain networks are impacted by trauma? And how does treatment help? How is the survival brain impacted by trauma? And how does treatment help? How are social connections and interactions impacted by trauma? What is neurofeedback? And how can it help with PTSD? How are one's sense of self and the brain's default mode network affected by trauma? So anyway, somebody from who has a oh shit, I wrote it down. Where'd I write it? Somebody reached out to me that set up a Facebook page on DBR, and it seems like this person is wanting to show people all over the world who have this training. It's called Deep Brain Reorienting and AT Interweaves for DBR. Deep Brain Reorienting and AT Interweaves for DBR. I don't know what AT means. It's probably really fucking obvious, but I don't know. The page is for embodied neuroscience for therapists and seekers of healing. So, and one thing I don't know, and I got a lot to learn, but one thing I don't know is if, the requirements for learning this treatment, I would imagine are tied to, I don't think you're going to see coaches doing this. I think you're going to see, master's and PhD levels of therapists doing this, which, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I hope that, I hope that once I learn more about it, it'll be something that I can, quite frankly, add to my meditative process, because a lot of these practices are, once you're guided, then you can sort of do it yourself. I don't know if that's the case with this, but essentially we need to ask ourselves the hard questions. So, where am I?
15 minutes.
15 minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
Fuck! I don't get this.
Going.
I am, but I don't get this. I felt like I was talking forever. All right. Let me think for a minute. When I say worldwide, I think there's literally like tens of people doing this. I just spit. I reached out to somebody in Australia. I reached out to somebody in the US. I'm going to ask. I'm also going to ask Dr. Lanius to come on. I know, I may be smoking the green, but we'll see. I want various practitioners to come on and speak to their own experiences. I'm also very interested in knowing, for that deep psychological trauma, I'm wondering what those success ratios are, how that's aligned to what kind of trauma you've been through, the deep psychological versus physical and sexual. I mean, the psychological comes along with all of it, but I'm just wondering how the brain responds to what heals. Like, I can't imagine not having CPTSD. I can't imagine it. And that doesn't mean it's kind of like, and I think I've made this analogy before, and it really, really helped me with CPTSD, is when I was young and my father was dying, and I had OCD, and how I got through. You know what? That's like really interesting, because OCD is, when I was a kid, I clocked it. I would lose like an hour and a half a day to my rituals and my compulsions and my obsessions. There was more compulsions for me because they relieved the obsessions. I was really always into relieving the brain. Like, I did not want my fucking brain to loop. I didn't want the thoughts. The thoughts were more intrusive than having the compulsions. So that mentality really helped me with this PTSD, because I was really motivated not to have the fucking thoughts. So I don't experience the fucking thoughts. I just would like behaviorally to have just, it's not that I don't have energy, it's not that I'm motivated, but I still get very overwhelmed by 3D shit. It doesn't really affect my work nearly as much as, just the low level crap. Like, I don't know how people don't get overwhelmed by the low level crap. So we'll see. I don't think anything's going to make me want to make a doctor's appointment. I mean, isn't that the stuff everybody puts off? I don't know. I can't wait to talk about it. So my goal is to talk to different people from around the world and get them on here to not only broadcast the availability, but also have you have and experience various practitioners and their methodologies, so that people can connect with practitioners, because this is something you can do over Zoom. It doesn't have to be in person. And I find that, like, I think that's going to be incredibly, incredibly helpful, but also very intimate. Like if you can have somebody in front of you on a screen guiding you through this and in the comfort of your own home, I think there's a real plus to that. All right, now I'm back to my notes. You want to sing? Oh. I think I need something on my mouth here. Hold on. I'm convinced that chapstick has an ingredient that makes your lips chapped. I'm convinced.
Probably.
I mean, my mother used chapstick all the time.
Yeah, my wife uses it all the time too, and her lips are always chapped, and I don't use it at all.
Your lips are fine?
Most of the time, yeah.
I think there's something to that.
Yeah. Hand lotion too.
I see a class action lawsuit. Anyway, so my mother she was a chapstick junkie. What was I going to say before I went to chapstick? Fuck.
Can't help you there. That's in your head.
Oh. The woman I referenced, Dr. Carrie McAvoy, the woman I referenced that has the scapegoat awareness page on Facebook. There's a theme here. We're autistic, and we all are connecting the dots and getting to the root of problems. I'm very grateful that I feel so aligned with the work that so many men and women are doing that are on the spectrum. Now, there's also people that I've come across who will link the spectrum with narcissism. They'll link the spectrum with possibly having antisocial issues. So I don't want to discount that. There's a whole lot of thought surrounding being autistic, and I was trying to think of something that can help people understand why we can be so innovative and inventive about subjects, topics, art, business, whatever, math, science, whatever. And I was called to recognize a story that I think my boys won't mind me telling. I hope. They both played chess, and I never took up chess because I made the huge assumption that I'm not linear sequential enough to plot and plan. Do you play chess?
No. Nope. My brain doesn't work for that.
So, from what I understand, if you can hold several moves in your head, that's one of the capabilities you need to play chess. And I not only don't have the memory, I don't think linear sequentially, and it actually makes me feel pain in my head when I think about having to do that. But both my boys played, and one of them, I was told, now again, don't really know the game, I was told by somebody who played with him that had played with a lot of people, they said his strong suit was that he would risk his ass. Like he would just come out like guns a-blazing. And if you knew that particular son, that is his personality. The other son, and this speaks to neurodivergency, the other son would, and again, all my opinion, the other son would have to be given information. And if he was given the information by somebody, he could then surpass that person. But he had to be given the information in order to, and this applies to autistics in general, in my humble opinion. If you give a mouse a cookie, if you give him what he wanted, however you want to put it, then he could not use that skill against the person, but he could he could exceed that person's ability. And I think that's so important when it comes to like what we're talking about. I in no way it still breaks my heart to know what I tolerated and endured, but now that I am the mouse that was given that cookie, I just want to do so much with it, to spare, I mean, that's my calling, to spare grief and incite joy. And I hope that's clear. And I think that's why so often people dodge autistics, because I think deep in their hearts, they know that we can then take the information and do more with it. So my point is just acknowledging other autistics in what I'm trying to do. It is neurological difference. It is important. Wouldn't change it. I think sometimes I've even considered whether there is a trauma basis to being on the spectrum. Maybe. I often also see coexisting in same families where you'll have someone with an antisocial issue and somebody who's autistic. Who's to say why? There's a lot that I think about that is just me spitballing. But I also don't, as I've already said, I don't let my brain, like I'm not one, my brain doesn't keep me up at night. My brain doesn't go off on tangents. I tend to write things down. I tend to be guided. I just have this really neat experience with my higher self. And I think that's also something when it comes to expanding our consciousness and when it comes to spiritual experiences, we are really also prone to those. And I'm trying to, I found somebody who deals with, I think, more children than adults, but is going to speak to people having, on the spectrum, having greater abilities with telepathy and different sorts of shit. And I very often don't explore the extent of my capabilities because I'm wanting to heal to a certain place where I'm more bulletproof. And I'm getting there. I thought I didn't give a fuck before, but I really don't give a fuck now. Can you see that change in me?
Yes. Yes.
Like, you mean it?
Yeah. Since we've started this, absolutely. Yeah.
How so? Or are you just not, like...
It's changed drastically. Because you'd be, like, even with these... It's always easier when you have someone else to talk to on these, but even so today, that you're kind of spitballing by yourself, and I'm just existing here with nothing pertinent to add because
it didn't bother me either.
Doesn't work that way.
It didn't fucking bother me either.
You're just doing it, yeah.
When he had to reschedule, I was like, I'll come up with something.
Yeah.
I just feel bad. Nah, it's not bad. That's when the flooding happens. Your boss, Frank, had said to me a couple times, and I've said it before, do you know how unique you are? And I'm like, I've never felt unique. But doing this makes me recognize that, and not unique special, just I'm really having a different fucking experience. Sure. I was talking to Shelley. Shelley and I are very similar in the sense that the trauma has made us dissociative and we're very connected to one another, but we recognize how hard it is to feel the feelings behind a real connection. It is much easier for me to still be connected to somebody that ironically I have less in common with.
Right.
So I find somebody that I'm attracted to, we're on the same page, and it still on some level is scaring the fuck out of me. Makes sense? Yeah. It's going to be if and when I meet a man, I'm like, what's my brain gonna do with somebody genuinely giving a shit? Like, what do you do with that?
I don't know.
You like run for the door? Or, are you anyway. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's very emotional. It's very emotional, but I would not change it.
Thank you for listening and supporting Natural Born Redhead. If you follow the bouncing balls, please like and subscribe. If you know someone interested in sparing others grief and inciting joy, message me on Facebook or reach out via my website, Natural Born Redhead. J-Ma.